Glenn Jacobs from Knox County, Tennessee. And then also by way of Tennessee, we got Kenny Cody. Those two have put together a piece on humanevents.com that I'd love to get them in on the heels of my debate with the Libertarian presidential candidate Chase Oliver yesterday. Glenn, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jack. Appreciate it.
Kenny, so happy to have you back here, man.
I'll be on as always, Jack. Appreciate it, man. Sorry for the attire and the sunburn. I'm on vacation in Florida, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity.
Okay. Now, we get a little sun as well. Glenn, maybe not so much, but we'll work on it.
That must be nice, yeah. Here I am in a coat and tie. Come on,
What are you working? No, so let's start with Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn, tell us about the piece and how did it all come together?
It was actually after President Trump spoke at the Libertarian National Convention. You know, he's the first of the major party presidential candidates to speak at LP convention, even though that's been a standing invitation for years. And one of the things that really strikes me about Donald Trump is the guy's just got guts. Okay. You know, the reason that no one wants to go speak at the LP is because the libertarians are going to boo him on stuff. I mean, that's just how it is. And he was willing to go in and actually talk, gave a great speech, and showed why, if your philosophy is libertarian leaning, Donald Trump's the guy for you. I mean, the things that he did when he was president, to me, a couple of the most important things that libertarian philosophy really shows us is how detrimental war is, how expensive it is, and also how dangerous the government can be when it turns its focus on the people that it's supposed to serve. And we've seen both these things, sadly, in America over the past several decades. Trump is the first president in recent memory not to start a new war, was actually in the process of winding down the overseas engagements. And at this point, he's been in the crosshairs of the deep state. And I actually relish Donald Trump walking into the Oval Office knowing that he's going to take care of some of this and he's going to just rip the deep state out root and branch.
Well, and this is similar to so Dave Smith, by the way, who was also at the conference or at the convention. He made a similar point because he said that that there's one move, and that move is you could try to run against Trump and you could fight against Trump, or what if you made a pragmatic move and made a deal? And I believe President Trump came out of there saying, I would appoint a libertarian to my cabinet. So that's pragmatism versus ideology and idealism.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And he said it perfectly. He's like, you know, you can either have a place at the table or you can get your 3%, like you always do. I personally would prefer a place at the table. And that's the offer that he made.
And that's the offer. So Kenny Cody, let me pass it to you then. When you wrote this, tell me some of your underpinnings, and really your background. Do you come from more of a libertarian background in terms of belief system, or is this something where you find that you can agree with people and you're trying to make that connection?
Well, a bit of both. I mean, my first writing job came with the Libertarian Republic with fellow Human Events contributor Austin Peterson actually offered me a job as a writer back in 2019 to 2020. And I've always identified with the libertarian perspectives of foreign policy, anti-government intervention, you know, trying to fight against the deep state, want to abolish things like the ATF, the FBI, the CIA. I do identify with that, even though on the border and immigration and a few other different policies I don't necessarily agree with them on. But this piece really came to mind because there's a lot of libertarians back in 2016, 2020 that did relate to Donald Trump. You know, you saw it even kind of more so in 2020, ironically enough. You know, Gary Johnson got like 3% back in 2016. Joe Jorgensen got like, I think, 1% in 2020, which kind of showed more of a shift towards Trump and the Libertarian Party. And we're trying to make the same kind of appeal because the guy that they nominated, Chase Oliver, seems to be more of a left-leaning libertarian than a right-leaning libertarian. It's not like Dave Smith or people from the Mises Institute or anything else. It's these left libertarians that are not willing to stand up to progressive cultural change, cultural Marxism, and a number of different cultural issues. And Donald Trump's willing to fight all those things while still fighting against his own government, fighting against the own bureaucratic weaponization that the federal government is going after him on, such as the Nudist weaponization, such as the attempt literally imprison him for his political beliefs. He can identify with the Libertarian Party unlike any other candidate in American history on either one of the major parties ever for American history, because he can identify with that ideology. He can identify with that cultural approach. And if we as Republicans can make that appeal to libertarians to come over and vote for the most anti-establishment, anti-government candidate this century, or maybe even the history of the United States since the literal founders of this country, I think we need to do that. We need to make that appeal the same way Donald Trump did at the Libertarian National Convention, like Mayor Jacobs said.
Well, and that's kind of the thing too, because when I see when I hear people say we want to fight wokeness, and then you go to talk to the left libertarians, like the current candidate for the Libertarian Party, and this didn't really come up so much last night, but they're totally for all the left-wing cultural changes that we see going on, things that personally I would describe as forms of cultural Marxism. Transing the children, teaching this propaganda and this agenda in the classroom, thinking that it's perfectly okay to do this. BLM, Antifa, yeah, they're totally fine with that because they say, no, that's okay because that's a private sector thing, and that's not a government thing. So as long as it's the private sector doing it, then it's perfectly okay. And that's something I categorically reject. And anyone, by the way, can go watch the clips from last night where they're talking about, well, we just need open borders. And, the way to deal, I love this part. They said the way to deal with illegal immigration was to make it easier for more people to come in. And then if we just flood the country with as many as possible, I was like, so that's pathway to citizenship. That's amnesty. You guys are just for amnesty, as if that's some big coverall when we don't even know the 20 million plus that we currently have here. I'll pass it back to Glenn. So Glenn, obviously the libertarian movement, there is sort of this left libertarian faction, and it seems like those are the ones that are kind of, at least for this year, the ones that have gotten on the ticket.
Yeah, it seems like that as far as the LP is concerned. We also have to think about libertarianism as a political movement and a philosophy as opposed to the political party. And those are really two different things. You look at someone like Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, those folks who are libertarians, and I would argue Mike Lee as well,
yes.
In the federal government, and obviously the godfather of it all, Ron Paul, but their philosophy is basically libertarianism, but they don't agree with all of this. Kenny was talking about earlier, all of the tenets of the Libertarian Party, nor do I. And what you were talking about as far as some of the things that kind of the left libertarians have gravitated to, those are things that are being pushed by the government. I mean, that's what we have to understand. Those are things that are being pushed by the government. They're not organically happening in society. If for no other reason, so much of it is coming from academia. And who funds academia? It's mostly the government. So I think that there's an argument to be made that, if we were to look at a libertarian world, it would actually be much more socially conservative than what we have now, because you wouldn't have people in government pushing all these different things. It would be what most people are least offended by. And in this case, when you're thinking about things like, transing kids and all that sort of stuff, that just has no place in any sort of society. And I don't think
it's totally government pushed as well.
Society.
We have a quick break. We're going to be right back. Glenn Jacobs, Kenny Cody, join us next. All right, Jack Posobiec back here live, Human Events. Of course, at humanevents.com, you can go read this explosive piece written by Glenn Jacobs and Kenny Cody. Where I'm looking at the numbers right now, the view count is going through the roof. This impassioned pitch why libertarians should vote for Trump. And of course, coming off the heels of me debating the libertarian candidate for president yesterday. But there's another debate coming up tonight. So let me throw it to Kenny Cody to kick things off. What's your prediction for the debate tonight? Do you think that Trump's going to come in guns blazing? Do you think Biden's going to collapse? What are you looking for?
I think both. I think it needs to be a measured attack while attacking everything that Biden's failed on. I mean, I think the favorability ratings come out today about the approval rating between Biden and between Trump. And Trump's got the highest approval that he's ever had, the highest favorables that he's ever had in his career. Biden has the lowest. So he needs to hit on that. He needs to sell his likability because people are drawn to Trump. I think he is a cult of personality, unlike any other, and I think he needs to come off likable. So kind of like he doesn't need to come off too mean, but I think he needs to come at the policies, come at the weaponization of the government that Biden has used against him and against pro-life Christians, against conservatives, against January 6ers. Come out against that dehumanization that Biden has come and make Biden out to be the monster. I know a lot of people think that Biden is just this incoherent old man, and partly I think he is, but the evil things that he has done while in his administration have got to be highlighted because the American people cannot see him or have any sympathy for him, and I think Trump needs to acknowledge that while not coming off too nasty. Acknowledge the evil things he's done. Let the American people know that this just isn't just a belligerent old man. This is a bureaucratic, weaponized tyrant, and that is using every bit of his power to go after his political opponents. Make him come off as a political prisoner and attack every failure that Biden has had while he's been in office. And I think that's how you sell to the American people that you are the competent one. You are the guy that has to lead the country forward and reverse the current course the country is on right now.
All right, Glenn Jacobs, you know what it's like to square off in prime time one-on-one, shall we say. Same question. What are your predictions? What are you looking for tonight?
So if you look at the debate prep, I think that is illustrative of how this whole thing will go. You know, Trump is still out there. He's campaigning. He's energetic. He's Trump. Biden locked himself away, sequestered himself from the world, met with this team of experts, and just practice and practice and practice. And I probably think that most of that practice will have left his brain by the time he actually gets behind the microphone. So Kenny's right, but I also think that what we're going to see is just the natural difference between two candidates. You know, normally when you think about these debates, you have two, polished candidates that just repeat talking points and blah, blah, blah. This one's going to be completely different. Because you have Donald Trump, who speaks his mind, and Joe Biden, who doesn't have anything on his mind. So I think really it's Biden that's going to have a huge problem tonight, because if he functions like he has at other public events, there's no hiding this. In fact, I'm a little shocked that they would have this debate, because we can see that cognitive decline that sadly has occurred. But nevertheless, that's going to be for all the world to see. So you're going to see, an old man who looks like an old man, who doesn't function very well. And then he'll point out that Trump is not a young man either. The difference is Trump is very energetic. Trump is articulate. Trump still has all his faculties about him, and Biden doesn't. And I think that's the thing at the end of the night that everyone's going to be talking about. The media will be talking about other stuff, but that's what the people at home will take away from this.
Well, and Glenn, let me just follow up with that on this question. How is Biden going to stand there and claim that things are good right now? We've been hearing this out of the White House for weeks and weeks. I mean, is he just going to repeat these same stale talking points?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I have a degree in English. I do not like made up words. So when I started hearing this gaslighting thing, I was like, what in the world does that mean? Well, it's lying. I mean, we see Mayorkas is doing it. They're doing it with the inflation was this number when I came into office. Now it's this number. No, it was this number, and now it's a lot higher. The number of that have crossed the border illegally is huge. Mayorkas is going around the country now claiming victory that we have a secure border. It's literally they're telling the American people, don't believe your lying eyes. For their base, obviously, that's what they're going to do. But for all the people that are undecided in the middle, I think they're going to be insulted by a lot of the things that they hear, because obviously the empirical evidence shows something completely different.
All right. So we got to ask final question. All right. I'm going to ask, yes, no, Glenn Jacobs, people are asking President Trump's vice presidential pick. If asked, would you do it?
If asked, of course, you don't turn down the president, but I'm never going to be asked. But the wonderful thing is there's some great choices out there, and I'm sure he'll make a very good one.
All right. Kenny Cody, what do you think? Now, let me ask you, same question. Should Glenn Jacobs be the vice president?
Yes. Undefinitive 100% yes. Choke slam the competition. Trump will make a great choice regardless. I think the 3 or 4 candidates, Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, I think whatever choice he makes is the right one in terms of those 3 choices. He's going to have his reasons. I think Vance is good. I think Rubio's good. I think Burgum is pretty good, but he's going to make the right choice to appeal to the American electorate. Rubio's had his record in the Senate. He's it's kind of been kind of a out of nowhere kind of choice. Of course, J.D. Vance, been an America First senator while in the U.S. Senate, and then you've got Doug Burgum, who has really been come out of absolutely nowhere as well. After his presidential campaign, has really been on the forefront for Trump ever since he dropped out. Been one of the biggest surrogates and one of the most public speaking surrogates on the campaign trail. So that's who I think it's coming down to. I think he picks Burgum. That's at least my bet. If I was placing odds on it, that's who I'd probably bet he picks. But I have no insider information. I'm just giving my opinion. But I think any of the three choices that he picks is probably going to be the right one.
All right, gentlemen. Final words. Glenn Jacobs, where can people go and follow you?
I am on X, formerly Twitter, at Glenn with two N's. So it's GLENNJACOBSTN. That's also my Instagram as well. I have two Facebook sites. One, the official Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs Facebook page, as well as Jacobs for Mayor, which is my campaign page.
All right, and Kenny Cody.
At KDCodyTN on Truth Social and on X. And you can find all my article archives at muckrack.com/Kenny Cody. Check out every article that I've ever written there. Keep up with me on Twitter. I always publish all my articles on my social media.
All right. I'm still sitting here. Come on. It's Glenn Jacobs for VP. I'm the one. I'm driving the train. Maybe, I don't know, maybe do co-VPs, get a little Brothers of Destruction action return. Just saying. Trump walks out at the convention. Boom. Both sides. Just saying. It would work.